Yo, what's up guys, Rackals here. Today we are back showcasing the brand new update for Quake Plus. This is the version 1.3 update that massively overhauls a ton of the textures. If you haven't seen any of my other videos covering this pack, it basically adds a custom texture for every single railgun in Quakecraft, which is such a cool concept. And yeah, there's been some really crazy overhauls and retextures in this pack. So I figured I would show them off as per usual and tell my thoughts on them. As always, link is in the description and it does require Optifine to work. For now, what you guys have been looking at is the Beam railgun. This one only got some slight changes. As we get further into the video, they will have more major overhauls, but the animation for it has changed. It used to be kind of just like a glowing effect on it, and now it goes from the bottom all the way up to the top, sort of swipes through. He also changed the shape a little bit. He made the top area of the rod a little bit skinnier. It looks a little bit like someone took a bite out of the railgun. He also changed the shading of the gun overall, and it looks really fantastic now. Up next, we got the superior railgun, and I will put a PNG of all the old versions of this on the screen as well. In V1, this was one of my least favorites in the entire pack. It basically just looked like a blaze rod with a blade slapped onto the end of it. V2 looked a lot more similar to this current version that we have here, and this is the V3, so the second time that it's been changed, and it's nothing too major. It's just a nice simple upgrade to it that I think looks really great. He totally redid the shading on it to make it a lot cleaner, and he also extended the rod to go all the way up and sort of cover the blade, if you see what I mean, or it almost like clamps around the blade on either side, keeping it in place. It kind of looks like that to me as well. I also just noticed this now, but if you ignore the blade part of it, like just the red handle and the rest of the rod sticking up, it kind of looks a little bit like a screwdriver texture or something. I don't think that was intentional, but it is kind of funny. Next up, we've got the worm, and this one is a massive upgrade. Once again, it's not anything too crazy, but it just looks significantly better than the older version, which I'll put up on screen now. The old one was entirely wooden, including both the rod and the blade. I think it looks a lot better with the stone casing instead, and it's technically more accurate to like the railgun's actual parts, since when you're putting the worm together, you do use a stone hoe for it, so it makes more sense this way. The squiggly little neon pink worm resting up on top of the railgun has remained mostly unchanged. I love him a lot. He's very adorable. And then he added all of this moss growing all over it, which I think works really well thematically, since you generally find worms in nature. This makes it look like it's something you kind of picked up off the ground, and there just happened to be a worm sitting on top of it. I really enjoy this texture a lot. Some of you guys might remember or have seen, I actually made an entire video about using the worm and trying to get a win with it, since it's one of the challenge railguns in Quakecraft, which is a 5-second trigger. So we'll see if I can get the dub in this game as well. Last time it took me a whole video to do it. Maybe this time I can do it first try if I'm very lucky. It's a pretty good lobby for it because there's only like 4 players, which is a significant advantage for doing challenges like this. There's some guy with ++ in the game, but that does not always mean that they're actually any good. Anyways, one thing that I really like about this is that not only is it a stone casing on the blade, it actually looks kind of more like cobblestone than regular stone. It looks kind of worn, and it's a darker gray than regular stone, which also makes it look kind of wet, which makes sense for why the moss would be growing on it and the worm would be hanging out there. And I have no idea how many kills I have, but I think I should be close. Okay, let's go. GG's, we got the dub first try. Creeper railgun. I actually just had flashbacks. I'm pretty sure in my original video showcasing this pack when it first came out a few years ago, I showed this railgun off on this exact same map, so there we go. Anyways, for this one, the rod was made quite a bit thicker, which I think is a nice change. It makes it look a lot more obvious that it's on top of like a stick of dynamite. It also changed the animation on the little screen / timer near the bottom, made it so that the pixels that are unlit still have a light shade of green to them, so they're not just completely black, which again, I also think is a great change. It makes it kind of more obvious that this is meant to be some sort of timer, like a bomb ticking down. At least that's my interpretation of it. He never actually gave any specific details for almost any of the guns or the design choices behind them. But hey, art is all about coming up with your own interpretations of it. And finally, he reshaded it, especially the blade, and changed the outline around it. Previously, it was like a really dark green, and now it's significantly lighter. And I actually do think it looks quite a bit better this way. The old version, the greens didn't really blend super well. The turtle, this one is the first one that got like pretty majorly changed. All of the ones up until this point have been mostly small changes, and man, does this one look really, really good. It's another challenge gun, though this time it can shoot every 2.5 seconds. Once again, I actually made a video trying to get a win with this gun, which took me an entire video to do. So let's see if we can get the dub in this game as well. Hopefully first try. I mean, if not, I'm not gonna try redoing it. I already made one video with the challenge. I don't need to make 2. Also in this game, we have Rackski Flipnote, which is kind of crazy. Some of you guys might know him. I think he's most popular for just the let's go gambling. So yeah, it's super cool to see him in Quake. We'll see if I can disrespect him by beating him with the challenge gun. Anyways, the old version of the turtle pretty much retained the exact same shape as a regular hoe does in Minecraft, just with like a different color on it pretty much. This one breaks that mold. I guess I'll talk about the turtle part of it first. The shell got made bigger, thicker, taller, whatever you want to call it, and retextured, recolored. I think it looks much better this way, more turtle shaped. And he also added all of this algae sticking off the bottom of it. That's what I'll call it. Who knows what it really is? Some kind of underwater sea plant. The little tendrils that flow around in the water. I think it looks super great. And he also changed the rod. It looks a lot more like a branch of maybe a birch tree or something with a lighter wood color. It's a lot more bendy or curvy. I think it looks really, really nice. And wow, that guy just teleported straight through me, bro. Oh, he was the last kill too. Let's go. First try. From one challenge railgun right into the next one, we have the snail, another texture that is really great thematically. The pink snail on top with his shell. You can kind of see his eyes if I shake my screen a little bit. This one has a 9-second trigger attached to it, and I have not yet made a challenge video for this one, though I definitely do plan to at some point, but who knows, maybe I will get it first try again. We've had really good luck so far, but yeah, 9 seconds is such a ridiculously long time to wait. As you can see, I literally just have to run and hide and then pop out whenever I can finally shoot again. You can look at my XP bar slowly trickling down to see when I'm able to shoot. Now, anyways, the snail himself has remained mostly unchanged on this texture. His shell got like a minor texture change. The biggest part that's changed is the branch or the stick that he's resting upon. I guess this time it does kind of look a little bit more like a stick, and it's more of like a regular oak color compared to what he did with the worm. And oh my goodness, there's people. I have to get out of here. I'm just like fighting for my life, trying so hard to not die when it takes so long to shoot every single time. Oh my goodness, a double is massive too. That's actually so good for me. So yeah, once again, the old version of this, the rod was pretty much just a regular straight rod. Now it looks a lot more natural, curvy. It's even got some little branches or parts of wood sticking off of it with leaves on the end, and I could totally see a snail just hanging out on the end of one of these things. This version has just a lot more character than the original, and I think that's a really common theme for pretty much all of the texture upgrades that he did in this pack. Anyways, I honestly have no idea how many kills I'm at, but I've got my little area here. I'm kind of just like hanging out all the way back here, taking a little pot shot real quick, and then jumping back into hiding after I take my shot. It's not the most intense or interesting way to play, but you gotta do what you gotta do when you're using the snail, okay? And see, like, that's what happens when I jump down into mid. I immediately die. I mean, at least I got the kill off. I'm pretty sure this Tametsi person is in second place, so ideally I need to not let them kill me as much as possible, though that is definitely easier said than done. Come on, please, 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 please. Okay, got them again. That's good. Kind of want to target this person like as much as I can. No, you're kidding me. There's no way I was at 24, bro. All right, well, after that heartbreak, we're on to the redstoner, but now I'm just really sad. Like I said, at some point I will try to actually get a solo win with that gun for a challenge video at some point, so yeah, be sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss that. And yo, what's up, Netspend hater? Okay, I see how it is. He just gived me in the pregame. He asked me for a screenshot, so I saw him there. I'm like, okay, I'll pull up, give him the screenshot like he asked for, but no, he just has to kill me. Fake fans for real. Anyways, like I said, we got the redstoner. Once again, just a fairly minor change, but a really good one nonetheless. He made the rod quite a bit lighter, which I really like. He actually changed the blade as well. I think pretty much the entire left half of the blade remains all the same, where it looks like redstone dust, and then the right part of it no longer looks like redstone dust. It kind of looks like a redstone torch or some kind of power related thing. And honestly, I'm still kind of undecided on whether I like this one better or not. The previous one, basically the entire blade looked like it was made out of redstone dust, and I always thought that looked really cool. And this one is still really cool. I definitely like the rod part better. Just the change he made with the blade, I'm not as big of a fan of, but it is by no means a bad texture whatsoever, and one of the ones I like a lot in the pack. Next up, we've got the BFG, and this, I think, is probably the biggest change that we've seen so far. A lot of them have remained pretty similar to their older variants, but this one is basically entirely different, and I will put up the old version on screen. It actually looked pretty cool, but this version is even cooler. I really like what he did with it, and he actually designed it around the original BFG texture from the Quake and Doom games. Some of you guys might have played those or know what that looks like. So it's got the color scheme from it, and then the exhaust pipes coming out the side of it as well. Honestly, a really cool interpretation of it, and he adapted it into like a 2D Minecraft format really, really well. well. Now we got the love gun, because I love my viewers. Aw. Once again, this is actually V3. This one's been changed twice before, although from V1 to V2, the only thing that changed was a very slight glowing sort of animation to it. And this one changed that animation to be more of like a sliding texture, as you can see. I think it looks a lot cooler this way. He also changed the shape of the rod. It's significantly thinner now, and it actually makes this gun look a lot like a magical girl's wand. That's the sort of feeling I get when I use this railgun, which is pretty cool. I actually really like that vibe. I think it's very fitting, and I think I make for a very good magical girl. Outside of those changes, he also made the heart quite a bit bigger and did some minor like reshading slash recoloring of the rest of the railgun as well. So yeah, this one kept the same idea as the previous iteration and basically just remade it and improved upon it. Butter slapper. This is the gun that I had some criticisms about in the past. I didn't love V1 very much. I thought V2 was a massive improvement over that. Here's V3, and I honestly don't really know how to feel about this one. As with a lot of the other guns, he made it a lot less shaped like a Minecraft hoe, which I think is great. I think that was sort of his goal with a lot of these textures, was to make them all stand out and be more unique. This one's quite a bit chunkier, and the rod is a little bit warped, like it's melting or something. I'm honestly still undecided which version I like more or less. I feel like the more I see this one, you know, the more I'll get used to it. But first impressions, I do feel like I enjoy V2 a little bit more. And it still remains one of the most iconic railguns in all of Quakecraft. Now we have a completely brand new texture because this gun did not exist when the previous version of the pack was made. Some of you guys may have seen my video where I showcased this gun when it first came out, but this one is the Frozen Fright. And man, this texture is really, really cool. That time it was not a pun. It's just honestly really super cool. I love this one. It's probably a top 3 or top 5 texture for me. It retains its pickaxe shape, which makes it stand out among the other railguns, since all the other railguns in Quakecraft are hoes. And it's very clearly frozen. It's got this nice icy blue texture to it, and it's very clearly a fright. It's got this sort of skull ice lord looking guy with the glowing blinking eyes, and he's opening his mouth and breathing, and you can see the cold air coming out of it, or the hot air. I really like this one so much. I think it's fantastic. Another day in Blue Lagoon. This is another texture that got a total overhaul. The original version, I'm not sure whether it was meant to be a hose or not, but this one it very clearly is. You can see the blue hose at the bottom and then the yellow nozzle with the water spray coming out the top of it, which is super cool thematically, and I love the animation of it as well. When I first saw this gun, it reminded me of Ninja from Fortnite. I don't know if that's just me, but it's like if Ninja was running outside and his hair was blowing in the wind or something. But no, jokes aside, I think this one's really cool. I actually did really like the old texture as well. That one, the water current looked a lot more like waves, like it was coming from the ocean or from a lagoon or something. So you could kind of argue that that one was more thematically accurate. But either way, I really love the visuals of both versions. Probably the only thing that I don't love is the position of the blade sticking out of the hose. It's sort of right in between the water line and the nozzle line, as opposed to being entirely coming out of the water or entirely coming out of the side of the nozzle, like how it was in the original texture. But overall, that's a pretty minor criticism. Who knows, maybe one day we'll get a version 1.4 of the pack, and instead of a blade, we'll just have the water itself shooting out to the left instead of to the right. The Harvester. I'll be honest, this is probably the one that I have the least amount of stuff to say on, because it remained almost identical, it just got completely reshaded. And I will say that the shading looks absolutely incredible. It's undeniably a massive upgrade, like I way prefer this version over the older one. And GG's, we actually got a godlike with the Harvester. Let's go. Now on to the Cookie Cannon, another one of the more iconic railguns in Quake, I would say. Definitely some of them are pretty forgettable. Like, let's be real, how many people use the Harvester? Although that's one cool thing about this pack, is that it could potentially prompt more usage of the underutilized railguns, since they all have really cool textures now compared to default Quake. Anyways, this one was a texture upgrade, kept pretty much the same core idea as the original, but made it a lot nicer, made it a lot more cookie-y, and also a lot more chocolatey. The old version, the top cookie cannon part of it, was mounted on top of a stick basically, whereas this one, it kind of looks more like a Pocky. It looks like it could be a biscuit that's been dipped in chocolate at the end of it, and then maybe they stuck the cookie onto the chocolate somehow. Who knows the mechanics behind the cookie cannon? This is a good one for any people with sweet teeth. Sweet teeth? A sweet tooth. I think. On to the bling bling thing. Now listen, I know I said I had the least to say about the Harvester, but this one is a pretty close second. That being said, there's still a lot of really cool railguns to go, some of which underwent massive changes, so stick with me for the rest of the video if you want to see those. Anyways, this is V3 of the gun. V1 in the original pack release to V2 was a pretty massive overhaul, whereas V3 is just some minor changes done to V2. He just tweaked the colors a little bit and changed some of the shading as well. So essentially he made one of the coolest railguns, in my opinion, even a little bit cooler, which is really awesome. This is definitely one of my favorites in the pack. Now we have Le Bizarre. It's French, so you gotta put that little extra bit of stank on it. I like what he did with this one. He actually made the purple blade part significantly bigger. Originally, the green rod went like all the way up and was even part of the bendy shape, which actually kind of looked a little bit weird. He also made some changes to the shape of the curve. It kind of looks a little bit more hook-like now, or a little bit more like a question mark than it did before. It also feels like I can just see this one a little bit better now. I felt like with the old version, so much of it was off the screen. And now we have the fabled railgun. I'm actually recording this one way later than the rest of the ones in this game, since there's originally a bit of an issue with the pack, but he got that fixed. Anyways, the fabled railgun is another one of those ones that I would say is just very forgettable, but I do like this texture quite a lot. It looks very... Wow, that guy just logged out in my face. Okay. It looks very fable-y / mythical, whatever you want to call it. And now I lagged back. Okay. Awesome. The game's going great so far. Anyways, with this one, he did a fairly minor reshade to most of it with a slight color change as well. And then he also added this nice little spiral texture to the end of the blade where it meets up with the rod. I think it looks really... What are we doing up there? Please don't leave. It's only us. No, please don't leave. Anyways, the little spiral texture is a relatively small change, but it does stand out quite a bit. And overall, it does add a nice little bit of the detail, since the old version was a little bit on the plain side, I would say. So yeah, there we go. Anyways, we are experiencing Quake duels live. Some of you guys might have seen my first video that I made when I came back to YouTube after my 6-month hiatus. You know, Hypixel Quakecraft in 2025. I don't know what I was talking about in that game. I don't want Quake duels to be like this. Please make it something better. Like, I watched that video back and was like, what am I even talking about for real? Moving on, we've got the Apple Core, another gigantic overhaul. This one is completely different than how the original was. And also, I would say one of the most creative changes that he's made. The old one was pretty much a regular railgun, just with an apple stuck on top of it. And this one still has that iconic apple stuck on top of it, although it is green now. But it actually looks a lot more like it's stuck on top of an apple core or an apple peeler. And unfortunately, some of that texture is off the screen. You can see it a lot better when you look at it in item form. He also changed up the color scheme. He made the rod red, the apple green, and the blade white. Super cool. Railgun of Darkness. This texture is actually somewhat similar to the new BFG texture as well. But yeah, this one is another complete overhaul. Looks totally different from the old version. It's actually V3. V1 to V2 was just a pretty minor reshade. And yeah, now V3 has a totally unique look and shape. When I first looked at it, I actually thought it looked a lot like a Plague Doctor mask mixed with a Raven. And it turns out that I was actually correct. This is one of the few where he actually talked about his design process on, and he said that it was inspired by those two things. And it just looks super cool overall with the glowing purple animation on it, the black sleek design, and then the little bit of brown handle at the bottom I think is also a really nice touch. Not too many of the railguns have something like that, and it's kind of nice. It makes it look a little bit more like a handle or a reinforced segment of the railgun. And finally, these are always super long videos to record for me. We are at the Platinum Smelter. This is the last new texture in the game. The ones that weren't showcased today did not get an update. If you want to go check out the rest of the textures that weren't in this video, either check out my last couple videos about the pack or just download the pack for yourself. Now, this is the Platinum Smelter. This is the third version of the texture, and all three of them have been my favorite throughout the entire pack. I love the Platinum Smelter. All three versions of them are so cool. Each version has progressively gotten better. This one was a fairly simple change, but a pretty major one overall. It's actually the black part of the rod that's like around the veins of lava. In the previous version, it was a lot more of a red, which sort of made it look a little bit more like magma, or like it blended into the lava a little bit, which, like I said, obviously still looked super cool. It was my favorite texture after all. But yeah, I think that the new black adds a nice amount of contrast between the rod and the lava, and it's just really beautiful. But anyways, I will wrap things up there. Thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. If you enjoyed, a like and a sub would be greatly appreciated. I've been Rackals, and peace.